everyone, and welcome to It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities that are all around us each and every day. We are so grateful that you've taken the time, and whether you're watching us live or whether you're coming in on the replay, we are very honored today because I have my friend Betsy Smith, and she's going to be helping us today because she's got some interesting things to share with us and kind of looking at some of this because we want you to excel as well. And sometimes there's all different ways for that to happen. And Betsy's going to share especially what one of those ways specifically can be as we start growing and we start moving through and we're coming out of a pandemic. We hope, we think, we're not sure. 2020 has been such an upheaval. Life in general has been an upheaval. And I know that we're all facing that each and every day. So Betsy has a really cool thing because she's got rules for women in the workplace.
That's true.
Workforce, I guess. A workforce, technically. I said workplace. Same difference.
Right.
There are rules, and those rules are very interesting. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Betsy, for willing to join us. We have been able to connect over the years, and it's been fun. And I'm so looking forward to continuing on this journey. And I'm so grateful that you chose to come and spend a little time with us and share some wisdom tips and nuggets to help others to excel. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I will. Thank you. And thanks for the invitation to join you. I spent my first career in higher education, and I started a long time ago in 1986. So I was one of the first women to sit in President's Council at the college.
Okay.
One of the first damn women in Rotary. One of the first female chairs of leadership Pensacola.
Wow.
And I loved every bit of those firsts. And I'm so appreciative that my boss, who is now deceased, Charles Atwell, brought me on board to stir stuff up.
And I bet you did.
And I did. And these rules have evolved over my career. Let me tell you a little bit about my refocused, reframed, repurposed business.
Absolutely.
As you know, my husband died in 2018 when we lived in North Carolina. I came back to Pensacola, Florida, and my business had just languished. At that time in your life, you don't have enough of you to attend to the patient, much less attend to a business.
Yeah.
And after I got back to Pensacola, Florida, I revamped my business, and I have 3 areas of focus.
Okay.
But the overarching message is advocacy.
Okay.
Advocacy in leadership, how leaders can be advocates and advocate for their team. Patient advocacy for family and friends, primarily. And then advocacy for women in the workforce. And how do they advocate for themselves? And that's where Betsy's rules came about. I didn't sit down and write Betsy's rules. About a year ago, every morning when Facebook started having story, what's your story, and you could post and last for a day. Well, I just come up with something. and as my life has gone, I just kind of lived into it.
Very cool. Okay.
And I go to the gym 3 times a week, and every time I come up with a new rule, I tell the kids, as I call them, the trainers at the gym, I have a new rule. And so they started giving me rules. But the first rule is you get to choose. You get to choose. Now, sometimes women don't want to choose because with choice comes responsibility and accountability.
True.
And my theory is when you choose not to choose, you've made a choice.
I was going to say, but that is a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I work with women to help them understand how to make a decision and to make a choice. Betsy's second rule is stop apologizing. Women apologize for everything. I'm sorry the light turned red. Oh, honey, I'm sorry it's raining today. I'm sorry, Mr. So-and-so. Can I interrupt you for a minute? I'm sorry, I'm probably wrong, but stop apologizing. Because as long as you're going to keep apologizing, people are going to let you carry the brunt of
Good
whatever
point.
went wrong. The next set of rules is about clarity. Janet, how many times have you been talking with a client and you say, so what do you want?
Half the time they have no idea.
No idea.
I was going to say that's usually my job and yours to help them figure out help them figure out what they want and then help them get the steps to get there.
And sometimes we back into it. So what do you not want?
Exactly.
So one rule is be clear. Be very clear. Because until you're clear, the universe cannot provide to you what you want.
That's true. And I think very often they struggle with that. And I see that so much because, of course, a lot of my clients are working with money and they really have no idea. Just numbers are confusing. So I have no idea. I just need to get this done. My bank account will tell me whether I can buy something. Time out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And that's very common and that's very interesting. But yeah, I think clarity is absolutely a great point. And I think that's one of the hardest things. And do you find also with all the chaos that's around, it's harder to be clear
It
because you
is.
don't know which direction you're going in?
And you think about the things that have gone on in 2020, and I have a whole presentation on fear.
That could be a whole another, easily
Yeah,
hour conversation.
about how fear has impacted
Yeah.
people in the workforce and their families.
Oh,
Um,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah. But we don't want to name it fear because that's
No.
a four-letter word. We want to call it anxiety or we want to call it depression. But it's
It's fair. But if we can be clear, you can break through a lot of that too. And I think
absolutely,
that's a piece of it. As you said, why not invite the universe to know exactly where it needs to help us to get to?
yeah. I have a friend who's in Toastmasters and she has won a contest. And her speech is actions conquer fear. So
Very
that
cool.
may become a new rule.
I
Actions
was going to say, can I put that as rule sub A? Which I've been jotting your rules in the chat here as we're going. Rule sub 3A, whatever we're on.
So you're going to like these two. They're another cluster. Know your value. Know your value. What's your value to your company? If you're an independent businesswoman, what's your value? Believe in your value. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of, because I know I've struggled with that because I was also in industries where females weren't usually in leadership roles. And that does make a little bit of a difference. And I think sometimes we question we don't realize how much we bring to the table.
Yeah.
We really don't. And I always, I have to think back too when I come in and I start working with, looking and seeing some bookkeeping and things like that. That's not all, and I can do it. I can do well at it, but my value that I bring isn't just at a bookkeeper level. I'm bringing in over 20 years of accounting and payroll to the table so that we can look at the big picture.
Yeah.
We can get the strategies in place. We can actually set up budgeting, that will actually work for you instead of against you. And I think it's hard. Sometimes I forget because it's easy to me. So
Yeah.
I don't realize how valuable it is to others.
Yes. And I have found in the coaching community, coaches so want to help people
Hmm.
that they want to give it away.
Yeah.
And that's
And I
a
love to give things
wonderful,
away.
yeah, that's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't put dinner on your table.
Yeah, I'm learning that. No, yeah, and that's true. But I think that's one of the areas that I've struggled with over the years is I don't realize sometimes the value because, as I said, it's easy for me, but it took a little while for me to realize, no, wait a minute, is even though it's easy for me, that's what my gift is.
Yes.
How can I use that gift and make it a win-win situation? So when
Yeah.
I work with folks, they always get more than expected because I'd love to give.
Yeah.
And
And
just like you
because
said, the
I
deal.
think both of us
Hmm.
believe in the gift of empowerment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why we've connected so well, over
Exactly.
this and continue to, and looking forward to continuing this journey together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very cool.
And then another is we've talked about value.
Hmm.
And then I shift into values.
Aha.
Values. and know your values.
Yeah,
And
which are different.
they are different, and they're both vitally important.
Absolutely.
And I go through, so what happens when you go to work for a company and their values are very different from yours?
You got a problem.
You got a problem.
And it's only going to get worse if you continue.
That's right. And, it's better to leave early than hang on and have someone tell you
Absolutely.
to leave.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll like this one.
Okay.
If you don't want to be perceived as a bitch, stay out of leadership.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There are days. Leaders are not necessarily liked.
No, and because someone considers you a bitch doesn't mean you are one. It
No.
means that's their perception of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in Texas, so I really don't care what somebody's perception of me is.
And sometimes that's hard. I think especially for women, that is often difficult because sometimes it is. I know there was times in my career, especially in corporate, where I was not well liked, and it was very difficult to be the loner because I had a job to do. And, it got to a point you have a choice. Here's where we're going. Here's the life ring. You can either put it around your neck or you can hang on to it. The choice is yours. But
Yeah.
this is what we've got to do. So let me know which way we're going.
Yeah.
And it took a while to work through that, and there was days where I got beatings that I didn't deserve.
Yeah.
That things were, and that's kind of the hard part is what I think when people are frustrated and their values aren't in alignment, it really is easy for things to get out of control quickly and as a leader, you get to stand in the middle of that and say, no,
Yeah.
this is the way we're going to go. Choose to get on board or not.
Yeah. So we're back now to decisions.
Okay.
Make a decision. If it doesn't work, make another decision. Because the highways are scattered with squirrels who couldn't make a decision.
I love it. Absolutely.
And then we were just talking about this before we started. When you make a decision, the universe conspires with you.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking. And that's good because that's exactly what we want folks to do. We want you to be thinking. We want you because that's the only way you're going to excel. You can't move forward until you start challenging things and start really looking forward and getting that clarity, making those decisions and taking actions and steps towards that.
And you use the word excel. I use the word success.
Mm-hmm.
Define your success.
Exactly.
What is excel to you? Is it, 100 million grand in the bank? Is it a prestigious job? What is it? And again, we're back to clarity.
As I was saying, it goes right back to rule number whatever,
Yeah.
clarity. I'd have to go look at the chat to see what number I signed it this time around. But absolutely, and it does get back to that clarity, and I've always, excel with me, came from definitely the Lord planting a seed, and this seed had been planted long before I realized I was supposed to, actually launch Excel with me training and consulting. But Excel has always been something that has been so important to me because I've always tried and strived to do my best.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what excelling is. What is the best? What am I using my gifts for what I've been called to do?
And there's another that's play to your strengths. And if the Gallup organization says your weaknesses will never be your strengths.
No.
Play to your strengths. Find someone whose strengths are your challenges and partner. Now, like you, my dear husband loved Excel spreadsheets. Give the man an Excel spreadsheet. He was a happy man.
Oh, yeah, because it's second language. It's great.
Oh, look what I can make this do, Betsy.
I love it. Not just me, but yes, playing to strengths makes a whole difference. And, even Bear gets up here and he agrees with you. See, he's coming up to agree with everybody here because he loves to make appearance in Zooms.
Well, I have two Chiweenies.
You got little guys.
Yeah. I did close the blinds so they wouldn't make themselves known barking.
Ah, but I haven't learned. This guy's too big. He just opens the blinds. It's crazy.
What is he?
He is a German Shepherd Great Dane, so he's a great shepherd. He's just a
Good.
baby. He's well over 80 pounds at a year and a half. I have no idea how big this boy's going to get, so he's still a puppy too. But he's fun. He has been a joy to be around. He forces me to get up, and right as we've been talking, it helps us to making a decision. Sometimes he makes a decision to make me get up and get moving.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that too. We have to make sure we take care of us.
Mm-hmm.
And too
Self-care.
often,
Yeah, self-care before care of others.
yeah, and that's hard, especially for women, especially in the workforce. I know I struggled with trying to figure all that out.
Mm-hmm.
Very often my son was on the floor taking a quick nap because he was little, and I had to pick him up and we had to go back to work for something to go. It's pretty crazy when your son knows the entire cleaning staff. And actually used to walk around with him. It was great. It was wonderful having this little 7-year-old come around and say, "You missed that desk. You got to clean that one up." I don't know if they always liked him. But the head lady loved it because she said it's so much better coming from that little 6-7-year-old than it is from me.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun with that. I'm not sure the staff liked it, but the head lady and I had a blast with it.
Good.
And it was great because the offices were clean those times. So he was very clear. And maybe we need to take some lessons off of that. You missed that. Yeah, wait a minute. You need to do the best that you should be able to be doing. You got to go back and he'd help them too. It's great. He'd pull chairs out,
Oh
get
yeah.
the sweeper. And maybe that's take lessons from the little guys.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Speaking about work, I was at a women's conference once,
Yeah.
and I heard this woman say, and when I interviewed them, I told them I'd work 24/7 to get the job done. And I went, oh man.
I'd be like, oh.
Exactly. Don't say that.
No, never.
Because they'll expect it.
Uh-huh.
And it also communicates you're incapable of doing the job in 8 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And it may be an impossible job in 8 hours, but you don't know. You've got to set those boundaries. And that is one thing that, I usually have been, wait, time out. These are the hours I don't answer the phone. I may glance and make sure it's not an absolute emergency, but your lack of preparedness isn't my emergency either.
Yeah. And you learn that in the corporate world as well.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. You will inspire some and annoy others.
There we go. I say do it anyway, because I say, can we do it anyway? I'm just going to put, do it anyway. That's what I'm going to say shorten that one.
Good. You got to believe in yourself, in your head and in your heart. You got to believe.
Absolutely.
No one can make you feel inferior without your permission.
Very true. Very true.
And even in these times where we're not sure about our jobs and we have that fear of, what if my child gets sick? When can my child go back to the classroom?
Who would ever thought we were going to question that?
Yeah. And the next one is know your time and rhythm.
Okay.
A morning gale or a night hawk. Know when you are at your peak. I'm at my peak between 5 a.m. and 2 p.m. So when I want to write, when I'm making critical decisions, when I used to have people that reported to me and we needed to have a hard conversation, I would always schedule them early in the morning.
Okay.
Now, some people peak at 2
and
go till midnight.
Yeah.
But I want people to be aware and work from your peak time rather than your downtime.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm married to a night owl, and mini me, child is also a night owl. I'm the morning bird. They think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But I'd much rather get up at 5 and I'm done by 10.
Oh, me too.
Whereas, my son's like, I just get started. He's good till 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm like, dude, no.
And he's a teenager.
He is, but but his dad's the same way. His dad's a night owl too. And it's really interesting because, to try to force night owls into that, it doesn't make sense because they're grouchy in the morning. I'm grouchy at night.
Oh, I'm catatonic at night. I'm not even grouchy. I mean, at 4 o'clock, I'm having my first glass of wine and we're done.
There you go. But you're also up at 4 a.m. or whatever.
Sometimes I am up at 4 or 4:30 because I
used
wake
to.
up and I need to get this thought down.
Yep, absolutely. 4 to 4:30 was my time to me when I was in corporate.
Yeah.
It worked. And 5 o'clock, I'd have to start paying attention to the kid and working on getting that because I start at 7 a.m.
Right.
So now it was time to get him, get everything ready to go. And as you said, but that to me worked.
Yeah.
And that does make a difference. And I think that's a very great point is if we want to move forward and we want to be doing our best, we've got to be doing it during our peak time.
So I am turning Betsy's Rules into a book.
Awesome.
Excuse me. Betsy's Rules for Women in the Workforce, the ultimate desk reference for confidence and courage.
Awesome. And does that have a scheduled launch date yet, or is it just in the process? All right, but we can look forward to it.
Yes.
We know that it's coming.
There's a book in front of it, Janet.
Okay.
And that's the Patient Advocacy Handbook.
Okay.
What to do and how to do it.
Perfect.
And it's way further along than Betsy's Rules are just Betsy's Rules, but they'll be easy to put together as a book.
Absolutely. And we get to all look forward to that because that is what's going to help us to excel because we need to be questioning things. We need to be thinking through. We need to be challenging ourselves. And that's what these rules are. They're challenging to us to make us better.
Yes.
And help us to be successful, help us to excel, and inspire, those possibilities, not just inspire them, but ignite them.
And I don't know if you did this when I sent you the rules, but everyone I send them to, they'll look at them and they'll say, oh, number 24 is me. Oh, no, number 77 is Julie. Oh, there's Danny, number 22.
We do. We fall into it. And I find that I fall into different rules at different times of my life in different situations that I'm handling.
Absolutely. Sure.
And that different ones jumped out at me at different times. If I'd reread it again now with the situation that I'm dealing with, I bet you a different one pops out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the cool thing about it. And that's what we've got to do is we've got to. And how often that happens, you just see it differently because your situation's different.
Mm-hmm. And I think both of us want to help our clients and friends see things differently.
Absolutely.
And excel at the clarity, the forward motion, the sense of accomplishment, the celebration. Last week, my newsletter was about celebrating.
That's awesome.
Yeah, celebrating the little things, celebrating the big things. It's so important. I even have my clients, I ask them to. I encourage them to.
You inspire them.
I inspire them. There you go. To, at the end of every day, write down 3 things they accomplished.
Okay.
Not 3 things they need to do the next day. 3 things, just 3 that they accomplished. So they can end their day thinking, I was a productive human being today. Look what I accomplished. And get up tomorrow morning and know, okay, I have these 3 things to do. When the day starts, who knows what they'll be as the day evolves.
That's true. Yeah, some days we do not know what the day is going to bring us. We start on one plan and end up on plan C, D, F, or N.
And I think women are really adept at that.
Sure.
I mean, we used to be proud of multitasking, and I think the flexibility, the moving from predictable to adaptable.
Yes.
And if 2020 didn't teach us that,
yes, it never will.
Well,
You're never going to learn, and there's only so much we can do. But that's absolutely true, and we do, and that's what I coach. With a lot of these folks and these small business owners, do not let the money run you. You need to be proactive and have a plan. have that plan in place, but it takes time. It takes hard work. It takes a proactive approach that often drops to the bottom of the list because everything else is in its way.
Mm-hmm.
But when it does that, long-term success is not around the corner. And that's what we don't want to do. You just cannot substantiate when you constantly are not being proactive, being adaptable, being willing and open to change when you need to.
And realizing, oh, that didn't work. Let's try this.
Okay, plan B.
Yeah,
B,
really.
B.
Yeah.
And
QA.
often you need all of them. Get started somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's
I used to say the hardest thing to getting your PhD is take making the decision to pursue it.
that's true.
The rest of it's lockstep. The rest of it, somebody's going to tell you how, why, and when, and where to do it. But that decision, that big decision about, wow, this is really big. Well, it's like starting a business.
Mhm. It
If you
most certainly is.
if you overthink,
You'll never do it.
I
You just
won't.
won't. No,
Yeah.
you get so overwhelmed. And I think as entrepreneurs, I think we face that cyclically too. Like
Mhm.
we'll be starting on a path and then, things are working really, really well. And I had one client, this is working really great. So he stopped doing it. I'm like, wait, time out. Let's back that up again.
Wait,
But
wait.
yet I've done it too.
Yeah,
If I'm going to be totally honest and transparent, which I tend to be extremely, you know what? Okay, if I have to admit, I've probably done that once or twice too. It was working, but let's try something new. Hello.
it's like the next bright shiny thing. Oh,
Exactly. Squirrel. Those squirrels that weren't making the right decision. They had some shiny
that's
objects, right? And that's part of it. But yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And it is something that we face on a regular basis, especially as entrepreneurs,
and
and trying to figure that out.
and another of the rules is you might as well laugh as cry.
Oh yeah,
That was
absolutely.
my mother's mantra. You might as well laugh as cry. So,
Absolutely.
sense of humor is, and I realize not everyone's a comedian, but a sense of humor carries you a long way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have always done that. It was kind of comical. I had one of my staff when I was still in corporate. She'd come in and, we're responsible for our payroll and a lot of things were outside of our control, but yet somehow it was all our fault when something didn't work right, even though we didn't have, you know how that goes. It is what it is. And she'd come in the one day and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" She goes, "You're in here laughing your head off." And I'm like, "Oh." She goes, "I'm going to guess we got some problems." You know me all too well. She goes, "What do we need to, and it was just, and that really brought it to my attention that when I get so stressed out, I just start laughing.
Yeah,
There is
giggling.
no reason. I just start laughing. And sometimes that's just the way I have to deal with things
Yeah,
because otherwise I'm going to be in tears. And that's just not an option because I can't get tears to move me forward.
that's right.
So,
Well, laughing is actually internal exercise.
absolutely. And it does. It's amazing how to make you feel better too.
Yes.
And there are days, as I said, laugh or cry, that's your choice. So we're right back to where we started. What
Yeah.
is the choice that you're willing to make? And sometimes a good laugh and you just give up and sometimes hug the dog or just
Yeah,
because you need somebody who actually likes you at that minute.
exactly. Yeah. And
They're
wants nothing from you.
exactly. They just want to give, okay, I'll sit on your lap. All 90 pounds of me. No problem. Move over. Actually, just stay there. I'll climb on.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference. It absolutely makes a difference. And that's absolutely the case. And that's probably, as we were talking, all these definite rules, all these ways that you can actually excel. And it's just simply by taking one
Mhm.
step in the direction that you need to go, one step towards what's possible. But first, you got to figure out what that possibility is.
And that first step is the hardest.
And it absolutely is the hardest. And sometimes you can be turning in a bunch of circles, and yet you still got to step out and take that first step.
Yeah.
And if it's wrong, what'd you tell us?
Yeah.
Make another decision.
Make another decision.
You figured out, and that's the coolest thing, is you figured out that one didn't work. So now you know what not to do, so let's try again.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing. So thank you so much, Betsy. This has been so much fun looking into here.
Yes.
And I am so looking forward to these books that are coming, the wisdom that you're going to share. And I'm so anxious to hear about these Betsy's rules because you know what? And that is something. If you have a way for folks to connect with you or a little offer for folks or anything like that that they can kind of check some things out and get to know you a little bit better?
Sure, if they will contact me at Betsy at betsysmith.com and send me their information, I'll send them a set of Betsy's rules.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm going to put this in the chat as we're talking. So grab your copy of Betsy's Rules. If I could spell, it would be fabulous. Some days it works. And I'm just going to say, give her a copy at Betsy at there. We'll just have them email.
Yep.
There it goes. It is in the chat. Make sure you guys take advantage of this. These rules are great. I got my own copy, so it's really cool. And it's just, it helps. Some days you just need to take that step back, and sometimes you just need to have some clarity, and you may not be able to find that clarity.
Yep.
But looking down through those rules will help you to get clear.
Thank you.
And that helps. And that's the first step. What step can we take?
Yeah.
And you give us that guidance to do that. And you are such an inspiration to us as well. I know you've had to overcome, and you've been able to share that triumph that you have through these books, through these different things that will be able to connect with others. So I thank you so much for being here today. I had so much fun, and it's always great. And I trust that we will reconnect here in the future and continue on this journey, which we don't know where it's taken us yet, but that's
Nope.
okay. That's okay.
Part of the thrill.
Absolutely. And we're going to make the best of it because it is both our times to excel and not only time for us to excel, but time for those around us to excel with us.
Right.
So thank everyone
Thanks, Jen.
again. Great to have you. Make sure you grab your copy of Betsy's Rules. Just simply email Betsy at betsysmith.com and you'll get your very own set yourself. Thanks, everyone, and have an absolutely blessed and wonderful day.